Long ago, before the word Bulgaria echoed across the Danube and the Balkan mountains, three mighty rivers carved their way through the ancient lands of Europe and Asia. Each river carried a people, and in time they would meet, mingle, and become one. They came with the wind, fierce riders, masters of the horse, born of the wide steppe. The Porto-Bulgars, as they would later be called, were descendants of ancient Indo-European nomads. Their homeland lay far to the east, in the lands near the Volga and the Caspian Sea, but they had not always been there. Their blood held the memory of the Huns, the Scythians, and older peoples still, warriors and priests who once rode alongside the storm. Led by wise Khans and forged in the fires of constant migration, they were builders of states, first in the Pontic steppe, then on the shores of the Black Sea. Their gods were the sky and the sun, their laws were sacred, and their writing was mysterious, runes carved into stone and metal. But fate was not finished with them. To the north and west, where forests stretched for hundreds of miles, lived the Slavic tribes. They were not warriors in the same way, but they were endlessly adaptable. They knew the land, loved the rivers, and honored the spirits of trees and fire. When the Roman Empire began to crumble, they moved southward. Curious, bold, and many, they settled where others had fled. They sang songs of home, tilled the soil, and brought with them a language that would one day become Bulgarian, Russian, Polish, and more. They were different from the horsemen, yet they too were seeking a place to belong. But the land they entered was not empty. For millennia, the Balkans had been home to the Thracians, an ancient people who built tombs like palaces and carved their gods into rock. Though the Roman Empire had absorbed them, their spirit lingered in the mountains, in the villages, in the bones of the earth. They became part of the soil, marrying into the newcomers, whispering their songs into new tongues. In the 7th century, a Proto-Bulgarian leader named Asparuh looked westward from the steppes. Behind him were memories of lost empires. Ahead lay the Danube, the Roman ruins and fertile lands defended by the mighty Byzantines. With thousands of warriors, he crossed the Danube and carved out a new realm between the Balkans and the Black Sea. There, the three rivers, Proto-Bulgar, Slav, and Thracian, finally met. At first, they clashed, but survival demanded unity. The horsemen taught the sword, the Slavs brought the tongue, the Thracians offered the land. Together they formed a kingdom. In 681 AD, Byzantium was forced to recognize the birth of a new state, Bulgaria. The Danube ran wide and cold like a silver serpent across the land. For the people of the steppe, the horse-born, iron-willed Proto-Bulgars, this river marked the edge of the known world. Behind them lay the ashes of old Great Bulgaria, scattered by the Khazar storm. Before them lay the unknown, Thrace and Moesia, rich and Roman, yet weary and vulnerable. Khan Asparuh sat astride his great stallion, Togril, his gaze fixed not on the rolling river, but on the silent men behind him, warriors, smiths, elders, wives, and sons. All had fled eastward through years of hardship, carrying only their blood, their gods, and the memory of a homeland lost. He dismounted and stepped to the water's edge. With one hand, he scooped a palmful of Danube water and let it fall through his fingers like sand. Then he turned. "This river is no border. It is a beginning," he declared. "We have not wandered the steppe for generations to die as ghosts. Here, beneath the sky of Tangra and upon the bones of Rome, we shall carve a home." That night, the tribal council gathered, noble clans like the Dulo, Ukil, and Ermi, and the old laws were spoken aloud. They knew what crossing meant, war. The Byzantine Empire still claimed this land, though its legions were stretched thin and its walls groaned from wars with Arabs and Slavs. Some urged caution, others spoke of raiding and retreat, but Asparuh silenced them with a single sentence. "We do not ride to flee, we ride to root." And so the order was given. Rafts were lashed, horses were ferried, and over several nights the crossing began. Fog clung to the water like a cloak, hiding their movement from Byzantine scouts. Elders whispered prayers to Tangra. Women held children close, and across that ancient river, a nation was born. When the Byzantines finally responded, it was too late. A pitched battle near Ongal, close to the Danube Delta, saw the imperial army crushed by the swift, relentless Bulgar cavalry and their Slavic allies. Asparuh's tactics were unlike anything the Romans expected. Flanking maneuvers, feigned retreats, and thunderous charges that shattered cohesion. The empire was humiliated. Its soldiers bled into the marshes. In 681, Emperor Constantine IV signed a treaty with Asparuh, the first time Rome acknowledged the Bulgars as a sovereign power. As part of the treaty, Byzantium agreed to pay tribute. On a windswept hill overlooking the river they had crossed, Asparuh gathered his warriors. "Here, we plant the banner of the horse and the lion," he said. "Let all know we did not conquer to rule, we rose to endure." And endure they did. From that crossing came the First Bulgarian Empire, a force that would shape the Balkans for centuries. The Danube no longer divided empires. It bore witness to the birth of one. The Danube was now behind them, a cold silver ribbon that once marked the edge of their world. Now it was the spine of a new homeland. Khan Asparuh stood atop a grassy hill in Mosia, the morning mist curling around his horse like a spirit. The land was vast and fertile, scarred by war, yet open to those with strength enough to hold it. But crossing the Danube had not been the end. It was the beginning. The Byzantines had underestimated him. Emperor Constantine IV had launched a campaign to crush the Bulgars, only to be defeated at the marshes of Ongal. The imperial forces, weighted by Roman pride and stretched thin by wars elsewhere, faltered. Asparuh's alliance with the local Slavic tribes had proved decisive. His cavalry moved like smoke through the reeds and forests, ambushing, encircling, vanishing. When Constantine returned to Constantinople humiliated and sick, the empire had little choice. It sued for peace. In 681, Byzantium officially recognized the Bulgar state and agreed to pay annual tribute, an astonishing admission from a civilization that once ruled the world. But Asparuh knew better than to trust imperial parchment. He did not stop. He fortified his new realm between the Balkan mountains and the Danube. Earth ramparts and wooden palisades were built. He formed a dual administrative system. The Bulgars remained the ruling elite, maintaining military and political control, while the Slavs, more numerous, retained their customs and local leadership, paying tribute and serving in war. This wasn't subjugation, it was integration. Asparuh was not just a conqueror, he was a builder of nations. The first Bulgarian state was unlike any in the region, a synthesis of nomadic Bulgar discipline and settled Slavic vitality. The Khanate retained Turkic titles and customs, but began adopting Slavic language and culture over generations. Asparuh chose his capital near Pliska, at the foot of the Balkans, where the forests met the plains. There he ruled not from marble palaces, but from a great wooden hall, flanked by his council of boyars, his warriors, and the ancestral shamans who read the stars and whispered to the spirits of the sky, god Tangra. He sent scouts west toward the Carpathians. He sent envoys to Slavic tribes, offering protection in return for allegiance. And he trained his sons, Tervel among them, to continue what he began. Around 700 AD, after nearly 2 decades of holding and expanding his realm, Asparuh rode once more to war. The Avars, fierce mounted raiders from the Pannonian Basin, had tested his border. True to his blood, he did not send messengers. He rode out with his guard. Some say he died in battle, others that he succumbed to wounds after victory. The exact date and manner of his death are unclear. But what is certain is this: he died as he lived, not as a vassal or warlord, but as a Khan and founder of a nation. His people buried him near the banks of a river, under a mound crowned with carved stones. The location was kept secret, lost to time, but the memory was not. Among the Bulgars, he was known as Asparuh the Unshaken.